Hi, Jonathan here from Think Smart Education. My very, very special guest here today, someone I've been very keenly looking forward to speaking with, is Jim Rickards. Now, for those of you who don't know who Jim Rickards is, he's a former advisor to the White House, the CIA, Pentagon, and Congress, and also the Department of Defense. This guy has been everywhere advising the highest level of government. Now, Jim's also an attorney, investment banker, and the author of 7 best-selling books on currencies and international economics. This is the go-to man when you're looking to investing in trading. But what I want to do today is speak to Jim about something that not many people ask him about. And that is more on the lines of the psychology behind being at the top of your field. So with that said, I'd like to welcome you here today, Jim. It's so exciting to have you here. I'm so excited you've been able to join us on the Think Smart Education channel. And so, Jim, I guess my first question is, there's a lot of doom and gloom. There's a lot of negativity out there. There's wars happening. There's things going on constantly. But how do you stay positive? How do you stay positive and calm throughout all this craziness that we're faced with currently?
Well, I'm an optimistic person. People find that surprising because, I do get the doom and gloom label. I guess that's unavoidable. But I don't think of myself, I'm definitely not pessimistic, and I don't think of myself as a doom and gloomer. I think of myself as an analyst. My job is to kind of get it right. And what I do, if you don't get it right, you don't have much purpose or much of an audience, if you want to put it that way. So I think of myself as an analyst, but yeah, you kind of get tagged that way. But I think that what's important, now I'm kind of getting out of the economic realm, but you got to get priorities straight. And so if priorities are things like, your family, your church, your community. I like to study history. I think history is a great teacher. Things are never quite the same twice, but similarities are enough that there's enormous benefit from studying history. Have some other activities. I'm a skier, a mountain climber, a photographer, whether you're a tennis player, a sailor, or whatever, a seamstress, a painter, who knows. Have some other activities. And I think occasional digital detox is a really good idea. I recently returned from 2 weeks in Antarctica, and I had my laptop, but the internet was like in and out. There were days when we didn't have anything, and it was wonderful. It's like, hey, here we are in nature. There are the whales and the seals and the birds, and the glaciers are calving, and we're in Antarctica. It was really spectacular. But getting out of your comfort zone, getting offline, thinking about family and faith and community. I think those are really good anchors and give you some equilibrium.
Yeah, absolutely. See, us being able to really just focus on the people around us, the things that really matter. We can get caught up in all these other areas in life and all of the crazy news that we're getting, but really, you're right, just focusing on the people we love, focusing on what really matters, really bringing yourself back to that. I couldn't agree with you more, Jim. Look, my next question for you would be, as we've already discussed, people are out there, they're scared right now, they're very uncertain about their future. What would be some advice that you would want to share with them right now on how to handle things?
Well, in terms of financial assets, and I mentioned this earlier, you need diversification, but true diversification. 50 stocks is not diversified. I don't care what the stocks are. You're in one asset class. You're in, they're all going to go up or down together, and I expect they'll be going down sooner than later. So have some gold. Don't go overboard. I recommend 10%, not 50. Season to taste. If you want more, that's up to you. But I recommend 10%, and silver in there too. So gold and silver. Have some cash. We spent time talking about distress in the banking system. So you got to be careful about your bank. You be careful about your deposit limits, but subject to that, a big slug of cash, perhaps as much as 30%, is valuable. It won't go down. I mean, it's not going to have a huge return, but it won't go down either in a world where other things might be going down a lot. So it could be actually your best performing asset. And it gives you optionality. If things do crash and burn, you can be the one to go shopping, pick up some really good companies at really low valuations. And of course, nobody's better at that than Warren Buffett, who has over $130 billion of cash in Berkshire Hathaway last time I looked. Those two things will give you a lot of peace of mind. So I'm not saying don't have any stocks, But in the stock market, I'd look closely at energy. Major oil and gas companies. The whole world is sort of ganging up on them, which is good for investors because their values are beaten down because of all the CSG and climate change. But since it's all nonsense, that those paradigms or narratives will fail, and we're still going to need fossil fuels. I mean, you can debate it, but there's no substitute. There's not enough lithium in the world. I've invested in lithium mines because I think it's a good investment, but there's not enough lithium in the world to make anywhere near the batteries that the political elites say we need to have electric vehicles. So other than golf carts, I mean, I wouldn't bet on that. But oil, natural gas, agricultural firms, Cargill and ADM, sure they're big ones in Australia. Other natural resources, water, that's a good place to start, et cetera. So there's room in the stock market for companies doing those sorts of things. High quality U.S. government bonds, Australian, U.S., or German, if you like. In shorter maturities means less volatility. With an inverted yield curve, you actually get a pretty decent return. So slice of equities, slice of government, high quality government notes, slice of cash, slice of gold, maybe some real estate. That's a portfolio we can sleep at night. Some will go down, some will go up, but on the whole, you should do very well. And the optionality of cash is valuable. And as I say, you might lose in the sector, but you won't get wiped out.
Now, look, Jim, this is something that I've always wanted to ask someone who's had to deal with the internal politics of the United States. You've been in the CIA, you've advised the White House, the Department of Defense, you've done all these different things, right? And there's no question in my mind that doing those things, being at that level, comes with a lot of stress. So what I've really, really wanted to know is, for a long time, how do you manage those challenges? How do you manage the stress? How do you overcome adversity in your everyday life with that much pressure?
The first one is don't worry. And that sounds funny, but worry is very counterproductive to solving problems. So I think of myself as a problem solver. And so first thing you do, gather facts. Don't necessarily have all the facts you need, but get whatever you can. There are, believe it or not, analytical and mathematical techniques you can use when you have a partial set of facts to still make pretty good forecasts, Bayesian techniques, etc. So get the facts, use the best tools you can, including some of the math tools I mentioned, and come up with conclusions. Don't be too sure of yourself. Humility is a good thing. Say, I think I got this, but maybe I don't. Better think about what could go wrong. And then apply yourself to solutions, actually produce stuff. That keeps you on an even keel. It doesn't mean all the problems go away, but as a way of addressing problems. Whereas if you're worrying and you curl up in a ball or whatever, that's not going to help. Panic doesn't help. I've been in, obviously financial challenges come up all the time, but I've been, in high seas, 20-foot seas with a sailboat, and, you get knocked down and the boat comes back up again, and you keep your hands on the wheel and check your heading and just kind of tough it out, but focus, experience, listening to people who know more than you do, and there are plenty of them. I do a lot of writing and interviews of this sort and so forth, but a lot of times I think one of the most interesting questions people ask me is, say, well, Jim, I read your books, I watch your interviews, thank you. Who do you listen to? Who do you read? And to me, that's a smart question, because the biggest mistake you could make would be to think you know it all. And so you should always be learning, trying to climb a little higher on the intellectual ladder. So I look for, writers and analysts, historians, philosophers, and others who I think have something valuable to say that will expand my toolkit a little bit.
Yeah, that's great advice. And correct me if I'm wrong here, Jim, but what I'm getting from that is you're really good at sort of compartmentalizing the different things in your life, the different challenges, and addressing them sort of as needed. Would that be right?
Well, focusing on what you can control, although that could be a short list, but I would say don't. You may not be able to control. Here's how I would put it, Jonathan. You may not be able to control things, but you can deal with them. So I could give you a long list of forces I can't control. I can't control the global economy. I can't control the climate. I can't control a lot of things, but I can deal with them. I can, if you understand them, your response function can be a lot more solid and a lot more productive. So, can I control the world economy? No. But if I can analyze it and see what's coming, can I position my portfolio to weather the storm? The answer is yes. So those are two different things. But preparing a good response function, even for things you can't control, is valuable.
Absolutely, and anyone out there that's listening to this as well, make sure you take these on board, and you know, you don't always get access to someone of your stature, Jim, and so it's been really great to have this conversation with you, and I'm sure our members here at Think Smart Education are going to get so much value with what you've shared with me today. So thank you very much. It's an absolute pleasure. I've watched a lot of your interviews and your live streams, etc. It's been fantastic to speak with you here today. Thanks for being on.
Thanks. Hi, I'm Jim Rickards, and you're watching Think Smart Education.